As we are in the midst of the dead off season that is for the NBA, we're taking a look at an article by Bleacher Report that says they are ranking the top 10 free agents and what's the best landing spots for all 10 of these NBA players to go to. Let's find out if they right, if they wrong, and I'll give you my personal opinion. Let's dive into this. Alrighty, so we're gonna take a look at this article real quick. Take a look at this article and we'll just let's get started. Let's get started to see where they at. Make sure you guys hit the like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get it. Oh, this is dating back for a while. Honorable mention is Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley, you guys do not know, Malik Beasley is having some off-court situation going on with his personal life that I don't talk about at all. That's NBA players doing NBA player stuff. But right now, his said honorable mention is him. He's supposed to have signed I'm pretty sure it was like a 3-year deal with the Detroit Pistons to return back to the team. But I think now I think everything's at a pause right about now, so he might not get that money. But let's say if everything clears up and things like that, um, going back to Detroit sounds like the best option for him at this point in time. Now, whether or not he goes back to the Detroit or whatever, that's a different situation. We'll figure that out sooner rather than later. At number 10, we got Michael Brogdon. Michael Brogdon last year he played for the Washington Wizards. He kind of go on the radar when NBA players go to these teams that are not too good. They kind of go under the radar. And Michael Brogdon last year is one of those players that definitely went under the radar during that time frame. I'm about to pull up I'm gonna pull up all these players' stats and stuff and games played last year, so you guys can get that in depth what y'all looking for. But I always thought Michael Brogdon was always a solid NBA player, a solid point guard, solid shooting guard, shoot defend. But it's just him being healthy long enough to do that. Last year he only played 24 games for the tanking Washington Wizards at age 32. 28% from the 3-point line, which is not good at all. That's on 2.5 attempts a game. He'll give you 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. So he struggled. He struggled last year. He's been throughout his whole career, he's been struggling to stay healthy. Quite honestly, let's be honest. So him as kind of a wishy-washy for any teams. I think personally, I think any team that is willing to give him a role on a team could benefit from Michael Brogdon, but at the same time, very, very dangerous to say whether or not he can play for a contending team considering his injury history. They said prediction is to join the Timberwolves to give Mike Conley some support, backup support. Like I said, it's iffy. That's definitely iffy for Michael Brogdon at this moment in time. Whether or not going to a team that's trying to contend, trying to get to the NBA Finals like the T-Wolves, I don't know if they would really want to spend money on a player who just struggled to stay healthy. Now, granted, he could have been held out. I don't think he was held out though. I'm pretty sure he had like a major injury last year. Just kind of closed everything out. Pretty sure he had like a major injury last year that forced him out of the rotation for the Wizards. But the Wizards also wasn't playing for anything last year either, so it's not like he's going too crazy. Let me see what his injury was last year. Um, personally, he had a torn ligament in his right thumb. He had gotten surgery last year, so he kind of missed. Yeah, we kind of missed that, and then he had a left ankle sprain, a right foot pain. Like I said, one of those players who get injured a lot, so it's kind of hard to determine. Personally, if I'm Michael Brogdon to try to get his value back up, I always thought about this every time. I said if he's not getting a starting role, and it's not a guarantee if he's going to be healthy or not. But I think the Milwaukee Bucks should go for him. I think give him a minimal to see how he's playing, and Milwaukee needs as many players as possible to add to their bad roster with just Giannis as a bunch of players. So why not get him to the Milwaukee Bucks? That's my personal opinion. We got D'Anthony Melton. D'Anthony Melton. We haven't heard too much about D'Anthony Melton in quite some time, quite honestly. Last team he played with was the Brooklyn Nets. Let's talk about D'Anthony Melton. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really pay attention to him too much. You know what I'm saying? I really don't pay attention to him too much. He really solid, just a really solid player that plays his role. If he gets started minutes, cool. If he doesn't, once again, that's cool too. I don't like I said, I don't have too much on the Mr. Melton here. Let's take a look at some of his stats from last year. We're talking about a player who, I mean, he got sent there. No, he played for Golden State last year. I don't know why I said Brooklyn. It says Team Golden. It says Team Brooklyn, but did he get traded to Brooklyn or something? The Warriors had a primary holder has been resolved for a restricted free agent. The series went down pick. Yeah, it's kind of weird because he played for Golden State last year. Oh, he only played like 6 games, so I guess that don't really count. He don't really count for those 6 games, so I can't even really give you. I think he's just a steady guard, steady guards. That's it, steady guard. And if the idea is to send him back to the Warriors or him returning back to the Warriors, he should definitely did it. I don't think he's gonna get the $13 million he's looking for, but the Warriors need guard play, need a little bit more guard play, something off the bench to continue to help their survive. And I think they only had like 10 players on their rosters or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Less than that, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, the Anthony Melton back to the Warriors. That sound like a good spot to me, in my personal opinion. Let's keep it going. Gary Payton the second could be another guy that should return back to Warriors also. Maybe his value is not as the same like it was a couple of years ago whenever the Warriors was going back on their playoff running and stuff. But he's still a really good defensive player. Still, I mean, he could still challenge defenses and stuff. But if his 3-point shot is not hitting at all, like 0%, then it's kind of hard to determine whether or not he should be on a certain team or not. Let me see what his 3-point shot was looking like last year. His 3-point shooting last year happens to be sitting at 32%, but he don't shoot that many threes. He only takes one and a half attempt a game. I'm surprised the Warriors haven't resigned. Is this if they have not resigned D'Anthony Melton or Gary Payton the second, that tells me that the Jonathan Kuminga holdup has affected their entire standing. Everything about them has really been on a big pause because of that. So if they are planning on re-signing him, they need to get that done ASAP. If not, they need to start filling out that roster ASAP. They need to do something different because all these players are just sitting there. Once again, if the Warriors are not trying to bring him back because of however they along the way, I think the Milwaukee Bucks should just hop on Gary Payton II. The Lakers could use Gary Payton II also. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that could use his defensive skill set. So I'm just saying that's opening. Benjamin Simmons. Oh man. I don't know. Benjamin Simmons is a very interesting player. After the whole back surgeries and stuff, and his back being jacked up, and that whole turmoil with the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets, eventually they finally bought him out. They bought him out. Brooklyn did, and he went to the Clippers. I thought joining the Clippers was an ideal, smart situation for him, but apparently it was not. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't bring him back for whatever reason. He's still a big man. He's still like a big guard that you can have. No, he can't shoot people. I understand that. He can't shoot. But he can do everything else. He can still be a really good defender, really good playmaker. He can still be a threat for a contending team. Their prediction is the Sacramento Kings or the New York Knicks on minimal deals. I ain't gonna lie. I don't want to see him on that Kings roster. I just don't want to see that with him. That Kings roster got to figure out what they're trying to do, and I don't think bringing in Brent Simmons into that situation. Plus, only that, but the Russell Westbrook situation too. I heard they trying to free up spots for Russell Westbrook too. So why add Ben Simmons if you're trying to get Russell Westbrook supposedly? The New York Knicks would be. I think New York Knicks would be a fine location for him. You know what I'm saying? Outside of Brunson, holding the ball a lot and doing a lot of things for the playmaking, Ben Simmons can do that coming off the bench. You can easily slide him down into the 4 position. He can't, like I said, he can't shoot, but if you want, you got shooters around him: Brunson, McHale, OG, and Cat, and then Ben Simmons is starting at the power 4 position. as long as he's good, as long as he's healthy, he's good to go. I think we could see a really good Ben Simmons year from him. Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not to the Knicks? That sounds like a cool little spot for him to join. Why not? That'd be pretty cool. Next up was Russell Westbrook. Well, we got a lot of controversy. Not controversy. It's just the name Russell Westbrook for the past this off season. I did a deep dive, not deep dive. I did a um, deep review of his career and what I thought was going on with Russell Westbrook on my audio platform of the Andre's Basketball podcast on Spotify. So guys, go over to Spotify and check that out because more episodes like that will be dropping over there. That will just be audio exclusive. Make sure you guys check that, especially if you're here on YouTube. Just saying. But yeah, what's Westbrook? Yeah, I think after the Nuggets decided they were shifting, they kind of switched from him and they went to go ahead and get Cam Johnson and Jonas Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown. It got to a point where it seemed like Westbrook wasn't going to be back on the team, and I'm surprised. Now the Kings are for whatever reason they was like, yeah, we'll bring him in. We're trying to make up room and trying to trade Malik Monk for Russell Westbrook, which is kind of weird to me. It's kind of weird to me, just for me. And that's exactly what they said. Signed a 2-year minimum deal with a player option in Sacramento. I think that's a cheap cop out. I really think that's a cheap cop out for Russell Westbrook. I think personally, as you guys know, as a Thunder fan, I follow Westbrook's career heavily for what he does for the NBA. Quite honestly, I think he needs to be part of a team. I think he's accepted his backup role, which is good. The first step to be from going from a superstar level player is accepting bench roles and being a non-player that he is. I think he's still a solid player. I think he's still a really solid player. I think he can still give you 10, 11, 12 points off the bench. I think he still bring you high energy. Not going to be a shooter. We know that. If you don't know Westbrook by now, you just don't know. You just don't know him. You know what I'm saying? If you think he can do all this, no, he can't. He's a guy who's going to need the ball in his hand. He's a guy who's going to spot up in the corner. He might hit them. He most likely won't hit them. He's going to turn over the ball a good handful of times, but he still give you an energy boost off the bench, in my personal opinion. The ideal situation for Westbrook, I'm not going to lie, I don't really know. I don't really know. I really don't know. I don't think it's Sacramento. I think that's a bad spot. Maybe he could play for the Timberwolves and be that backup point guard coming off the bench for them. That would be cool for them especially if they needed somebody to back up Mike Conley. Westbrook has been relatively healthy majority of his career for the past few years. I should say, not for his career, for the past few years, even at his advanced age. Let me see how many games he played last year because I know he got. I know he gets injury now. I know he's going to get a little small injuries that's affecting him. You could tell. But last year he played 75 games. The year before that, in the Clippers, he played 68 games. So he's been playing. He's roughly been playing enough games for you to be like, all right, we can do this a little bit. We can do this a little bit. The ideal spot for Westbrook. That's a great question. I always say come back to the Thunder, Westbrook. That's just me, but I think our roster might be filled up already. But I was like, he can come home to Oklahoma City and be that veteran coming off the bench and help continue pushing the championship title window. You can always send him. I mean, like I said, I just don't want to see him in Sacramento. I'll do an LOL moment if he goes to the Bucks. That'd be a funny moment. I don't think he fits with the Bucks, but the Bucks ain't got much. You know what I'm saying? The Bucks don't got much. Would Miami be interested in a Russell Westbrook? You got to think of like this random teams like that. I don't know who's really interested in the rest. Maybe he got to go to a team that's not really a playoff team at all, and he can just show his value coming off the bench or so as a player and go that way. That could be the option, but all that, and we could just be saying this might be the end of Russell Westbrook. He might just announce his retirement. I mean, 36 years old. He's not gonna. I don't think unless he's going to a championship team automatically. I don't think he's getting a championship, which is fine. One of the greatest point guards of all time. So it is what it is. Sometimes it is what it is. Number 5, Al Horford. Yeah, Al Horford was a very interesting one. I was surprised he hasn't signed anywhere. I was surprised he hasn't signed anywhere at all. Person believe we'll talk about the Boston Celtics but the Boston Celtics lined up and stuff. This reminds me. I have thoughts on that. We'll get to that once I going through the Eastern Conference and talk about all the teams in the Eastern Conference or so. But Al Horford, they got him going to the Warriors because the Warriors seem interested. But the Jonathan Kaminga's contract is what's screwing up all this stuff. So I don't, and then the Warriors are kind of just hands off until they can get the Jonathan Kaminga's contract situated. I haven't heard outside of the Warriors rumored. Like I said, I think they just waiting on. Outside of that, I don't know what else Al Horford's thinking about doing. I don't know. 39 years old, still 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 an okay player, but I haven't heard nothing. There really hasn't been much on the Al Horford front. It's been real quiet on him. They say he's going to the Warriors. They saying all this stuff, but we haven't seen him go to the Warriors. Um, they say it's been verbal agreement, but he hasn't signed yet. So I don't know. They're kind of waiting on Jonathan Kaminga, so the whole Kaminga thing is holding up everything. My personal opinion, it's holding up everything. It's holding up where he's supposed to be going, signing and stuff like that. Al Horford could be a warrior. He could be a warrior, and if he's a warrior, that'd be cool for them. A nice little big up, a Batman, big a big backup that can play, that can hit the threes at points, still solid defensively, good enough even at his advanced age and stuff like that. It's a solid pickup in general. Whether or not that happens, waiting on Kaminga. Waiting on Kaminga. It's crazy how much we gotta wait on Kaminga. Cam Thomas, another player who has not been re-signed yet. Brooklyn Nets are just sitting on their hands, waiting to re-sign him too. Is this another? My question is: this another thing to where the Kaminga contract, and they're trying to see how much is Cam Thompson worth the contract, which is kind of crazy. Once again, I think we're getting to this point in not for just the not just for the players, but for the organizations that are thinking that they don't need some of these players, or they thinking we don't need to sign them. This is the reason why I'm also been pushing for not only expansion of the NBA, adding two NBA teams, the Seattle Supersonics and whatever another team is. Personally, I will go with the what was the name of that team? The St. Louis Spirits. Just me. That's just me. But outside of that, I've been actually pushing for the ending of conference in general, the whole West and East. I just in all of that stuff, just the best 16 teams in the NBA to go to the playoffs because situations like this, Cam Thomas, if it was two other organizations like if Seattle and St. Louis was out right now, they would have like go ahead give Thomas this money that he's looking for, and they'd be fine. The man's 23. He's 23. And I know his skill sets is not ideal, but I think he's a super six man off the bench. Maybe he does have a Tyler Hero ceiling where he transforms from just being a super scoring guard coming off the bench to a guy who is giving you 20, but he's also giving you 4 rebounds, 4 assists, or 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Maybe his assist totals goes up, maybe not. I take that back. I did not know how much he was scoring last year, and from what I can tell, from he got injured last year too. He didn't play that much last year. But from what I can tell from my calculation, I apologize, Cam Thomas. I didn't realize this. The man averaged 24 points last year. You got a 24, 3 and 4 guy come that's 23 years old. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's get that contract up out of here. If not, once again, for a small deal, Cam Thomas, there is always Milwaukee. I'm just saying a lot of teams to go to Milwaukee. Milwaukee needs players and stuff. That's another play. That's another spot. He had suffered a left hamstring in March. Okay. And he missed the rest of the year. Okay, so that's where the injury was. Okay. That's what it was. But in my personal opinion, Cam Thomas could go literally to any team. It's just if they're waiting on the Kaminga stuff, it's gonna be a while. Cam Thomas, to continue a team that need it. Milwaukee needs another go-to scorer, and Cam Thomas, if he's going to average 24 next to Giannis, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Yeah, Milwaukee, not Milwaukee. Brooklyn better do something. He might take this. They say he might take the 6 year qualifier. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't. I'll just leave Brooklyn and just call it GG's because if Brooklyn not trying to give you the money now, it's not like they're gonna give it to him the next year either. They're in rebuilding mode. Or yeah, they in rebuilding mode. No, he might as well just go. My personal opinion. Speaking of the man who's holding up legitimately 3 signings for the Golden State Warriors, is Jonathan Kaminga. I'm not gonna lie. They've been offering him money. They've been offering him money, but he's not willing to take that money. He's not willing to take none of that money. He could take the qualifying offer and become unrestricted next season, but he can probably make that up after next season where he's unrestricted and he can find out his real deal. They just saying, yeah, back to the Warriors. The best he can do is under circumstance. They're not gonna release his full rights. If I'm a team out there, I will just like forget it. I'll just offer him something just to see if the Warriors would match it. They might as well do that. That's where I'm at this point in time. I think he's been feeling this. When situations like this, especially for young players who are trying to get paid, when situations like this happens and it stands and stands and stands instead of going ahead and re-signing your players, this becomes an issue not only for now but for later on and for other young players on your roster. You want to nip this in the bud as fast as possible to avoid situations like this again. John Kaminga is taking this up. Potentially right now, the Warriors could be having Al Horford, D'Anthony Melton, Gary Payton the second, and John Kaminga. All four of these players should be back on their team, or should be on their team right about now, and they should be preparing for hopefully a deep playoff run next year. And right now, we're not because they're not signing Jonathan Kaminga. Whether or not they see value in him or not, I don't know. But they got to if they keep offering him these deals and he keeps shutting them down. So it's not the deal that he wants. You got to figure that out, Warriors. Y'all missing out on three other players right now. And just lucky that a lot of teams are just like holding their hands. If I'm one of these teams, I'm offering Kaminga more. I'm offering Kaminga money. Why not? And I know this team is probably trying to do sign and trades with him, and they're like, no, no, no. Stop being stingy. Let's get this stuff done and over with. Let's get it over with because you're holding up your roster. Let's be honest here. Next up is Quentin Grimes. Yeah, Quentin Grimes had a nice breakout season last year for the 76ers, if I'm not mistaken. He had a really good season before. He had a really good season despite it being under the situation that it was for them. For the 76ers losing out on Joel Embiid, losing out on Paul George, losing out on the young cat off the bench. I forgot his name. Young rookie off the bench who was playing really well, losing out on him, and then eventually um, Maxi, eventually losing out on your pretty much your four best players for the season he was putting up, and for what they need to be giving him. He definitely should be back on the team. He definitely should be on this team playing fantastically. 22 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals. Does that not sound like a player that you want to keep long for a little bit longer on your roster? Is that not what we're doing? It's crazy. The 76ers currently has 14 roster players. I don't know. I do not care. I'm still re-signing him. That's crazy if you don't. Grimes, yeah, bring him back ASAP. I don't know what we're doing here. Why hesitate to? Now I understand because you with the money where you at with your money and stuff, but get him back in because if Paul George gets injured again or Embiid is not healthy, you can start trading some of these players. You can keep Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is a nice player to have at this moment of time for what he's doing, especially at 25 years old. So there's a lot of teams. It seems like a lot of these players are restricted, and that's why a lot of these players ain't getting signed. Restricted free agents make it very difficult for anybody to toss out. I'm tossing out money. I don't care if I'm a franchise. Once again, expansion of the league. Players like this would have been offered 4 years, X amount of money already, and these teams would have been forced to sign them because they don't want to lose them for nothing. My personal opinion. That's what I'm saying. I'm pushing for that expansion all the time. I'm pushing for it. I'm pushing for it. And then finally on this list, uh, Josh Giddey, who has a pretty solid who had a pretty solid year. Another guy who's restricted that the Bulls don't know if they want to bring back or not. Once again, yeah, that's crazy. He's 22 years old and he was having a really good breakout season. He's playing really good. He's playing really good towards the end of the season for that last few months or so, the season for the Bulls. And he's another player that is suffering from not getting a contract from their team. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. That is crazy. These young players who are not getting re-signed for whatever reason or another, that's bad. That's definitely bad. But they got to re-sign these players ASAP. If not, you're gonna lose these young players, and it's gonna make your franchise. It's gonna make it worse later on down the line when you're trying to resign for more money. And they're like, "We're good here. We're good here." But those are the top 10 free agents. That's the top 10 free agents from Bleacher Report. So shout out to Bleacher Report for the article. And y'all let me know down in the comment section. Out of these 10 players, or 11 if you want to count Malik Beasley, out of these players, are those the ideal teams they should go to? Most of them, a lot of them are just restricted free agents that's trying to re-sign, and they're just waiting on an organization to re-sign them. Like I said, Johnny Kaminga's holding up Al Horford, Gary Payton II, and DeAnthony Melton from being re-signed. Josh Giddey with the Bulls. Um, Cam Thompson with the Nets. Malik Beasley and his legal troubles. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are we doing here? It's like, what are we doing here? But hey, money talks, and BS walks, right? All right. But that's it. That's the end of this video right here. You guys make sure you hit the like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Make sure you head over to the audio platform, mostly Spotify, for audio uploads and deep dives into players' NBA careers that I won't be doing here on YouTube. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.